Welcome to What's the Scenario with PLRB, where we explore claims and coverage scenarios relevant to insurance professionals. I'm Brendan McLaughlin, Education Counsel at PLRB, and today I'll be joined by Mike Brode, VP of Meetings and Education at PLRB, and Tonda Lee, Education Counsel at PLRB. So, what's the scenario? A major storm hits the city. Sara's bakery suffers roof damage, water leakage, and equipment loss. Sara has heard lots of job titles thrown around. Policyholder, agent, broker, adjuster, underwriter, actuary. Who are all these people? In today's preview of the PACE program's core onboarding course, we'll explore the basics of the different roles in the insurance industry. But first, let's head into the Dec Page.
Yay! My favorite part of the show.
Yeah. So we're talking about big storms, and for today's Dec Page, I guess our location can be the O'Hare Airport. Last night, I was flying in on a red eye, and supposed to take 3 hours, but the storms were so bad above Chicago that they weren't letting any planes land.
Oh,
and we were in a holding pattern for a while, and then our plane ran out of fuel, which is not what you want to hear when you're on a plane. And they had to reroute to Detroit.
Ooh,
so refueled in Detroit, came on back, and then and that's when the trouble started. I was on a train in O'Hare from one terminal to the other, and the train broke down. So it was a whole thing. But yeah, we've had some crazy weather in Chicago, haven't we?
Well, can I ask a question, Brendan? Did you ask the stewardess or the flight attendant if while they were circling around, they had to be over Indiana at some point? They'd say, could you just give me a parachute and I'll just jump out and go home? Would that be okay? Try that move?
Yeah, I definitely passed over my house at least 2 or 3 times. If the holding pattern might have been above my house, so I probably passed over it like 10 times.
Oh, wow. Well, we are glad you made it back safely, Brennan.
Podcast.
Yes. Well, I was just going to say that there's just been so much crazy weather lately in the Midwest that you definitely want to make sure you're checking your favorite weather app before you leave out the house, because this weather has been very crazy to me lately, like just constant storms coming from Iowa going east. I know Michigan is in an uproar right now with threats of flooding all over. So we are glad that you made it safely back from Michigan, given all this crazy weather. We're just at the spring. So we might have a few more weeks to go before it calms down.
Of course, Tonda's blaming it all on the poor state of Iowa. So I won't go there, Brendan, but Tonda blaming it all on Iowa.
Well, that's what the weather people keep saying. It's coming from Iowa. That's where the storm's
coming from.
Well, maybe across the Rockies, so Colorado might have something to do with it.
Colorado's fault. Iowa's just nice and level and flat, and it can't stop the wind. They can't help themselves there in Iowa. Good people out there, corn huskers. Oh, okay.
Yes, I went
corn huskers are Nebraska. I don't know what. No, that's right. They're the Hawkeyes. How dare I? I should know my Big Ten schools. Once again, we owe all sorts of apologies for Iowa. So I apologize on behalf of PLRB to the state of Iowa. We say we're so sorry. You are the Hawkeyes. You don't cause all these storms. I'm blaming it on Canada. You can blame it on Colorado. That's fine, but it's not poor Iowa.
All right. Yes, I went to the Iowa State Fair for the first time this summer, and it was an experience. I must say, though, you do need more than one day to take it all in, and it was very, very, very hot.
All right. Well, we'll make sure to pay our respects to Iowa as we head into. Let's get it back to our scenario.
Oh.
All right. So our scenario, we're talking about the different roles in the insurance industry, which if you're not in the industry, some of these words can seem really alien, or maybe you've heard them in context, but you don't fully, no one's actually explained the definition. And we kind of get into that in our PACE program and the core. Yeah.
So let me just share with the audience, I'm really excited about the PACE program. And I think what really excites me is that I know there's a lot of different designation programs out there in the insurance industry, but our program is really designed to be practical and engaging.
Ooh.
So I love that it includes so many graphics, practical examples, claim scenarios, so you can actually start to apply some of the stuff you're learning. And I think for people new to the industry, particularly, there is a lot of jargon. Whether you're a policyholder or a new adjuster, you're dealing with all these different roles during the claims process, as well as the application, underwriting, and other process involved in the property and casualty industry. So I love the idea of just giving a great foundation for people to understand what these different roles entail. So where we're going to start, Brandon, who's going to be our first role player here?
Ooh, I figured maybe if you guys wanted to try to quiz me, because I'll say, you know what, I spent 30 some odd years over on the insurance claim side. So I've heard many of these terms. So if you guys want to kind of throw me some curveballs, see if you can stump Uncle Mikey. Maybe that's what we can call the episode here today. So if you can stump me with one of these terms, we'll see. But you're right, Tana. There are a ton of terms out there. And not only here, you can give a bunch of CV, ACV. We can throw out a bunch of them. PD, BI, is that business income, bodily injury? Oh, we got our acronyms. It's awesome. So, yeah, I don't know. Throw one at me. I don't know.
Mike,
Brennan,
I think you just came up with a concept for the next episode.
All right.
Just get all the acronyms out there. There's so many acronyms. So just going over the roles, I mean, the first one, this is one of those ones that it just kind of may trip people up. Insurer versus insured. Maybe that's like obvious if you like really think about it. I think it's one of those things where, you know, fiance and fiance, and there's one with one E and there's one with two E's and one's got an accent, and, you know, they're very similar. And which one goes to which? So insurer versus insured. Just one letter off, and that might throw people, especially when they're reading it. What's the difference there,
Mike?
Well, the insured is the person paying the premium that's getting the coverage from the insurer. But yeah, I always like insurer to be the insurance company. So insurer is your insurance company. Your insured is the person who purchased that policy and looking for some coverage if there's a claim out there under their insurance policy through their insurer.
Yes, great job, Mike. That's definitely it. And that's why sometimes I like, when I'm writing about insurers versus insured, I like to use insurance company instead of insurer, because as you're reading things, you might be like, oh, is that an R or D? Sooner or later, it starts to blur together. And so I do sometimes like to make that distinction to help people keep those roles separate, because they, of course, are very important to understanding the rights and obligations of each party to the contract. Just talking about the process, you have kind of the application process, you have the claims process, and then you also have internally the premium rating process. So we could think about the different roles as they relate to the different processes involved in the P&C industry.
But even before you go there, Ton, I was going to go back to I think in the intro there in our the scenario, I think, Brennan, you mentioned policyholder. So their policyholder is another word for the insured. So if you want to do it insurance company policyholder, maybe that's easy, and then it's not so similar in spelling and pronunciation. I think that's what I'm
on.
There you go.
You'll hear carrier as well for the insurance company. And I do want to mention that as you get into, I think the goal of this is, hey, to help you understand as you read, through, as you see articles in the industry, as you start to understand. But some of these terms do have technical definitions, which we get into another podcast. Who is an insured and who's considered as insured can get into a real complex legal situation. We're just speaking generally here about some of these.
A great caveat.
Maybe it's somebody who's in the household. Maybe we'll define that, Tonda. What's household? I don't know. Who knows what fun you're going to find?
The great thing is that you're going to learn about all of that in the PACE program.
No way.
So even though we're talking generally now about the different roles, once you join the PACE program and sign up and start that journey, you're going to learn about what's an insured under the policy. So we're going to have all that covered in the PACE program.
So when you're a policyholder, as we just talked about, and you're interacting with the insurance company, a lot of times their interaction is with, their agent or their broker,
Right.
and maybe they don't understand the difference. And then somebody shows up to their property after a claim and it's not the agent or broker. It's this other thing called an adjuster, or maybe they don't even know what it's called.
Right.
So as far as if you're a policyholder and you're interacting with the insurance company, can we break down those terms, the agent and the broker and the adjuster? Yeah, what's going on there?
Would you like me to break it down by interpretive dance?
If you can't, you'll have to stand back from the webcam a little
that
bit.
would take me off camera. That would be tough. Okay, we don't want that. But someday when we get together in the office, I will try to explain it via dance, because that's one of my many skills over the years that I've learned. But I would take it this way. So let's say agent. So what's an agent? Usually the agent is like sort of the sales arm of the insurance company. So you can be an agent for one particular company, and that's called a captive because you only sell for that one carrier, or you can be independent agent where you have a number of carriers that you might be part of the sales arm with. So those folks usually are agents of and represent the insurance carrier. So the broker then usually gets involved with really complex, like Sara's Bakery. There might be a very complex commercial insured. So you might have a broker. A broker works specifically with that insured, the policyholder, to try to find the right carrier that might work with them, the right insurance company. So it's kind of a, who do you represent? The agent usually represents the insurance company. The broker usually represents the policyholder and trying to find the right coverage for that unique and special risk, much like Sara's Bakery is very unique and special. How's
Great job, Mike.
Oh, boy, all right, yes.
Right. And
one.
I think it's important to point out also that your agent and your broker come in predominantly at the application stage when you're seeking out an insurance, but then they also can play a significant role in the claim stage when you have that first notice of loss, when you have that loss. A lot of people, as Mike alluded to, their first contact is really the agent. So when they have that claim, they're going to reach out to the agent. Hey, what should I do?
Right.
And that's when you'll start to talk about the claim process and how to file a claim. And then you'll have other people from the insurance company become involved.
Right. And that's a fascinating aspect of being an agent, because you're right, Tanya. It's almost like you attorneys that have in a defense, you represent both the insurance company, but you got your client who's your main person that you're representing. So it's kind of like dual capacity there. And that's kind of the same with an agent. So the agent is a representative of an insurance company, but also that policyholder is the one who's paying the premium. So a lot of them are that conduit, that kind of connection between the insurance carrier and their policyholders, kind of helping navigate everything and helping you through the whole process, not only from a claim, but even, premium payments, how do I properly insure different stuff? So never forget that agent, independent or captive or broker, all of them work together with you to try to help provide the right coverage with the right carrier. They're wonderful people in the insurance industry. So shout out to all those agents out there and brokers, because they're good folks.
And often a first contact for the policyholder who might have a relationship with them over the years.
Right.
But then, then you get that claim happen, right?
Oh, yeah.
And somebody comes out and they're not the person you've been dealing with all these years. And, we have some of the terms I'll throw out: adjuster, claims professional, TPA. Who are these people coming out with maybe a clipboard out to your house? Yeah, who are these people coming out to my house?
Maybe even a drone nowadays.
Hey,
Maybe a satellite scope out of your roof. Who knows? But yes, adjuster. I think when I look back at my various titles that I had over the years, adjuster was one. I was a resident adjuster. Meant I worked out of my home way back when. That was cool. I was a claims representative as well, which kind of weird. Adjuster, that was kind of, I don't know, it sounds like a John Wick kind of film, though, wasn't it? The adjudicator was in that movie, I think.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, I mean, stuff like that. So yeah, any term like that is the person who works for the insurance carrier that's trying to navigate your claim and determine what's covered, what's damaged, what's owed to repair, put you back to the place you were, hopefully pre-loss. So that's all what the wonderful job of the insurance adjuster or claims representative. But the other term you threw out there, the TPA, that's in.
Yes.
So that has to do with toilet paper. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That would be some kind of third-party administrator. So there, it's kind of like almost like an independent agent. So these are not agent, but independent adjuster. These are folks that don't work for one insurance carrier, but kind of are out there. They're kind of like a adjuster for hire kind of thing. So a TPA usually is hired by sometimes like big companies to be their claims arm, but they're not employees directly of that place.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're just claims representatives who kind of work through claims and then report up to their client, whoever that is. Insurer. It could be an insurance company, and same with independent adjusters. Sometimes, like say you had a huge, like Tonda was just talking about all the storms out there. Sometimes storms hit and you don't have enough staff adjusters working for an insurance company that can handle all that. So sometimes that's where you go to an independent adjuster and say, hey, we'll hire you. Can you go these things, figure out what we owe, and then report back to the insurance company. So these are kind of like some funny term I'm trying to come up with, but I won't. But these are just folks that are out there that, will handle claims, specifically work or hired on a per kind of claim basis or multiple claims to kind of work through them and then report back to the insurance carrier or their company that hired them, kind of a deal. So they're adjusters for hire, I guess.
Yes.
The best phraseology, maybe.
And there's 2 points I wanted to add to that, Mike.
Oh, all right.
The first point is just there's so many different titles that can mean the same thing. Claims representative, frontlines adjuster, desk adjuster. So because of that, I think it's important for new claims people, experienced claims people, to make sure they have the habit when you're first meeting that insured, introduce yourself and tell them your role. I think that's just so important as part of just our effort to educate the public about what we do and the benefits provided by the P&C industry. So introduce yourself. Tell people, hey, I'm Mike B., resident adjuster from X and Y company. That's an important part of helping people to understand the different roles in the industry.
Here. And then they learn, Tonda, that we're good people in the insurance industry, like I always like to say.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point because, this episode is really geared towards, you're new to the industry, you're not familiar with this jargon, but I also think it's helpful even for more experienced folks who are familiar with these terms to think about them from the perspective of somebody who isn't as familiar with it. If you're a policyholder, if you're new to the industry, somebody comes to your house, you may not have an understanding that they don't actually work for your insurance company. They work for this third party, so just as you work with especially policyholders and folks who aren't familiar with the jargon, it's helpful to kind of keep in mind, what do people know,
Right.
All right. Well, let's wrap up here and head into our 3 key takeaways.
Okay.
Yay.
What can we take away from this scenario? I'd say number 1, if you're confused about insurer versus insured, think about the insurer as the insurance company or the carrier and the insured as the policyholder. But do keep in mind, and maybe this is point number 2, that insured, especially in some of these other terms, might be defined in the policy. So, purpose of this podcast is really just give you a general understanding. And then we also covered the difference between agents and brokers, adjusters and TPAs. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. And where can we go to learn more? Let's check that out. You can head over. The Pace Designation program is not up just yet. We're launching in just a couple weeks here, but we'll provide a link to learn more and get updates on that. And I'll share those links in the show notes. And there you'll also find a recap of the key points for this episode and links to our social media. Don't forget to subscribe and rate us. And please give us a call at 630-509-8704 and leave a voicemail. We'll see you next time. The views and opinions expressed in this resource are those of the individual speaker and not necessarily those of the Property and Liability Resource Bureau, its membership, or any organization with which the presenter is employed or affiliated. The information, ideas, and opinions are presented as information only and not as legal advice or offers of representation. Individual policy language and state laws vary, and listeners should rely on guidance from their companies and counsel as appropriate.